The Bank of Nashville has given a gift for the last 4 years to the people of Nashville in the form of the CEO Cafe, which brings speakers to our public and to the watching audience. Today, Joe Calloway is our speaker. He's an author, he's a lecturer, and I think he will challenge the CEOs and any C-level officers of corporations in our area to do the things they need to do and to follow the examples of other companies thinking outside the box. Joe Calloway is a Nashvillian, well known to the Bank of Nashville and the CEO Cafe, and we think you'll enjoy today's program.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody. On behalf of really a great team with the Bank of Nashville, I want to welcome everyone here. We're very fortunate this morning to have the world-renowned business consultant and author Joe Calloway. As a parting gift for you, we have an autographed book for you, so make sure you get that. So I think it's going to be a great morning. Joe, we're excited to hear from you. And Jim will go through the rest.
That is a great gift. I've read that book. It is wonderful. Joe is one of the top consultants, presenters in the country with a who's who list of clients all the way from Coca-Cola to Saks Fifth Avenue to American Express and a host of others. This book that you'll receive today, Becoming a Category of One, just encourages you to not compete in the category that's cluttered, but create a category that's just you and how to do that. And it is a wonderful gift from the Bank of Nashville. Everyone here will receive one when you leave, so that by itself is a great gift. Joe is a member of eSpaces here, which makes being a member of eSpaces part of what's worth it. You should get to come to the office every day and hang out and drink coffee with people like Joe, but he presented this just for eSpaces members last year. Which is one of the benefits of being here, is that you get to hear other members who are renowned like Joe share their knowledge to other members. And we asked him to do an encore presentation of it. Now, another warning, kind of like escaping the cameras, Joe does not make speeches. He does interactive participation. So this is exactly what the CEO Cafe was designed to do, is to be recreate a scene like going into Starbucks, sitting down with a group of your friends and having a conversation about business concepts. So set up and get your thinking caps on, because he's going to call on you to participate. We got one presenter and 150 co-presenters, and you're one of them. So join me in welcoming Joe Calloway.
I got that. Yeah, thank you, sir. Jim said, we've had great speakers, incredible speakers. We've had the governor and the mayor, we've had Sherry Dorsman, we've had all these fabulous speakers, just the top speakers. And I thought he was going to say, and now all the way down to Joe Calloway. So, but then you threw in world-renowned, which is a bit of a spread. That's an aspirational introduction right there. How many of you have ever driven, this will be most of you, from Nashville to Louisville on Interstate 65? Up until about a year ago, there was a billboard 10 miles south of Louisville on the west side of the interstate. My favorite billboard of all time. Here's what it said. No pictures, no photographs. It's just words. So picture this. It said, Tattoo Charlie's. So, remember that billboard? Tattoo Charlie's. Done while you wait. And the first time I saw it, I'm about a half mile past it, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Of course it's done while you wait. They have to do it while you wait. That's no different than any tattoo place. Well, Tattoo Charlie, who, God bless him, passed away, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and they closed the business, so the billboard's gone, unfortunately. Tattoo Charlie was having fun. But what he pointed out was the reality of today's marketplace, which is that when you wake up in the morning, you and your business are just like me and my business. We're pretty much the equivalent of a pound of nails. We're a commodity. And the marketplace doesn't see a whole lot of difference between this pound of nails and this pound of nails. You can look out this window off this balcony and you can see grocery store, grocery store, grocery store, gas station, gas station. The marketplace doesn't see a whole lot of difference. So when you and I all wake up in the morning, we are all commodities because our customers, our potential customers, truly do see sameness until we do something that separates us, that differentiates us. Now, the book that you're going to get, here's the cover of it. And the cover illustrates visually exactly what the idea is, which is you see all these red apples over here on the side. You want that to be your competition, and you want to be the green apple. Now, that's not easy. But how do you do it? There are companies that do it. They do it consistency, big companies, little companies. What we're going to talk about this morning is what is it that great companies, indispensable companies, as I call them, Category 1 companies, or simply market leaders, what is it that they do that any of us could do? Any of us, most of the time without having to write a check. What can we do in terms of mindset and particularly culture? There's 1,000 ways to describe culture, but it's the way you behave with each other in the marketplace and everyone else. It's what's important where you work. It's what matters most where you work. And it's that stuff that a lot of people say, well, that's that squishy stuff. You can't get your... No, your culture drives your bottom line. Your culture, you don't win because your strategy works. You win because you've got a culture that enables your strategy to work. That, for me, is the starting point. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about, or you're going to be talking about this morning, is around culture. Here's how I want to start. Let's look at some Category 1 companies. I want you to, here's the scenario. Your company has decided that they want to give you a 1-year fully paid sabbatical, okay? And your assignment is to pick any company in the world to go learn from. You come back at the end of the year with ideas that can help you be better at what you do. Now, I do this exercise with people all the time, and I keep a running list of who they name. So let me tell you, and you don't have to pick any of these companies, but just to give you an idea of the companies that people are picking now, that they're saying, if I had a year, I'll tell you who I'd go spend a year with. Let me read you the top 10 or 11 that have come up. Some of these have been on the list for a long time. Google, Amazon, FedEx, and also UPS. I hear UPS fairly frequently. Southwest Airlines, Disney, Apple, no surprise there. Zappos, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble. This one fascinates me because it's been coming up more and more and more and more. Chick-fil-A. There's another one, but I'm going to save it. It's a little bit of a surprise. I'll tell you after you have a chance to talk. So right now, and again, doesn't have to be one of those companies. By the way, for this to work, you all got to be willing to talk to each other, got to be willing to talk to me. You willing to play? Yes. Well, that was... There. Where's Mark Fortune? Mark, you willing to play? Yeah, Mark will play. Listen, find somebody, just get a partner. And again, doesn't have to be one of these companies. If you could go study a company for a year looking for ideas that you could bring back to your business, I'll give you about a minute to talk about this for both of you to swap. Each of you pick a company. Who would you choose and why? Go, talk about it. If you're thinking, well, okay, this is mildly interesting on some level, I guess. I hope he gives me something good and tangible that I can take back and use. Hello, we're here. You understand this is what great companies do? Is they say, what are 8 other great companies doing? You know that probably the most innovative company in history, one of the most, Apple, Steve Jobs said, do you guys understand we built this company on the values and ideas of other great companies? And I'm just happy that now other companies are building their companies on our values and ideas. Allegheny Hospital in Pennsylvania, great world-class hospital. They felt like their processes were getting in their own way. Have you ever felt that way? So they said, how can we come up with more efficient, more effective processes? A hospital. They got on an airplane, went to Japan and studied Toyota's manufacturing processes. Came back and revamped the hospital. Golly, who else? Lexus. When they want their engineers to understand how to design a car that will appeal to their target customer, they send their engineers from Japan to Washington, D.C. to the Ritz-Carlton Leadership Institute to learn what it is that Ritz-Carlton customers want, because you think there might be some overlap there? Probably the most recognized corporate leadership program in the country, maybe the world, is GE's Leadership Development Program. You know who they're focusing on right now? 2 companies, Google and the United States Military Academy at West Point. Google because they want to study how they innovate. West Point because they want to learn how to make good decisions under pressure. Pretty good place to go to find that out. So this is, listen, this is the sort of thing that great companies do all the time. It's not some little clever conversation at a networking event. This is what they go back to work and do. What's going on out there, generally outside of our industry? The best idea for your business is probably right under your nose outside of your profession or industry. If you'll just open your eyes and go, that's cool. What would our version of that be? So who'd you come up with? Somebody talk about, raise your hand, I'll repeat it. Please, who you got? Facebook. It's Facebook's world. We just live in it, a lot of people think. So why Facebook, Lori?
Their growth, their innovation,
their growth, their innovation, their ability to target an audience and capture that audience. Beautiful. You could certainly use that in your business. You guys, your new business out in Bellevue. Who you got? Who you thinking?
Jack Welch when he was running GE. So can I go back in time?
Okay, go back in time to Jack Welch when he was running GE. Yeah, an American business icon. Why Jack Welch?
Well, I mean, he built that leadership program.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just his leadership style.
Jack Welch built that leadership program. He's got a unique, forceful leadership style. GE has got a very interesting culture. I mean, a fascinating culture. I'll tell you something. Here's a tip on leadership from Jack Welch. He said, I used to talk about GE's mission and vision until I was sick of hearing myself talk about it. But that was my job. I was the leader. So I talked about vision and mission over and over, incessantly, until his employees' eyes almost rolled out of their heads. Because if you're the leader, that's your job. Remember who we are. Beautiful example. Somebody else, who'd you pick? Over here in the corner. Lego. Interesting choice. Why Lego? They hook you when you're young and they keep you for the rest of your life. Yeah. Well, there are entire corporate training events now built around Lego. I tell you somebody else who's a master at doing that, because there are a lot of businesses that say, you know, we have our customers at a certain period in their lives or their career development, but then we lose them because they just move on. Disney, now see, I'm pretty attuned to this because I'm what's known as an older parent. I've got 2 little girls. I'll tell you more than you want to know about them if you ever want to hear. Jessica, who's 10, and Kate, who's 6. So, I know Disney, my friend. Disney had them at the princess stage up until about 5th grade. And then they lost them. They just flat lost them. If you got cable, go see the Disney Channel in the afternoon and evening sometime. Because they said, we want them when they're 11 through 15. Oh, they got them. They got them. The money extraction machine runs on unabated. And they were great at seeing how can we keep our, in their case, maturing market. Somebody else, who'd you pick? Please.
I picked MGM.
MGM, why MGM?
And maybe I took a different look at the question, but I believe that we need to touch a global group of people now.
She's saying that we need to touch a global group of people, a global market.
And I would like to understand more about what their vision is around education, entertainment, and engagement in helping people see a vision.
What's MGM's vision about engagement, education, entertainment, so that they can help other people see a vision? Let me tell you one that's come up twice, and it was two CEOs in two separate events in the last 2 weeks. CEO, first one raised his hand, he said, I'd like to go spend the next year at RIM. And a week later, another CEO said, if I could go hang out with a company right now, it would be RIM. You guys know what's going on? They make BlackBerry. RIM. RIM, that is a company that the words bless their hearts was invented for. They are not in a good spot. REM is having a ton of trouble. And it was very interesting to me that these two CEOs said, I'd like to go see how they respond to this. See what they do right, see what they do wrong. You can learn just as much. Who mentioned Starbucks? Did you say Starbucks? Yeah, you can learn just as much from Starbucks. Of course you can on their upward trajectory. Starbucks wasn't doing so well about 5 years ago. That's why Schultz came back in. You can learn just as much from a company on the way down as you can on the way up. But my point is, please leave this morning with your antenna out. And if you think to yourself, gee, Apple, by the way, the most popular answer, how many of you said Apple? Anybody? That tends to be the most popular answer. Well, if you want to be more like Apple, who's stopping you? Why would you not? Well, how do I do that? You study what they do and you copy it. Now, the difference is you adapt it to your arena. You adapt it to your environment. So what are some of the things, and I'm going to go over just a couple of them, three of them, or we are. What are some of the things that Category 1 companies, market leaders that are able to sustain market success, what is it that they have in common? Here's the first one. This is in the DNA of every Category 1 company that I am aware of. Let me put it in the form of a question. This is a question I ask of every group I work with. How many of you agree that for your company to stay competitive, you have to be better tomorrow than you were today? Raise your hands. You have to be better tomorrow than you were today. I mean, maybe I'm just not seeing them, but I haven't seen anybody not respond in the affirmative to that question. Do you have to be better tomorrow than you were today? I've yet to see somebody go, no, we really don't. We're there. We don't have to get better. Everybody in this room, or 99% of us, we all agree, have to be better tomorrow than we were today. Fine. Let me ask you an infinitely tougher question. What did you do last Thursday that made you better than you were last Wednesday? Just think back to last Thursday. So yeah, we've already said right here in public, it's on TV for Pete's sake. Everybody saw you say, we have to get better every day. Fine, what'd you do last Thursday? Made you better than Friday. Then what'd you do on Friday that made you better than Thursday? And that's where I start to lose eye contact. Because people go, well, I mean, not every day, but, you know, it's kind of a project thing we do every now and then. Or last Thursday, well, we were slammed last Thursday. We didn't really have time to get better. We just were trying to keep the doors open last Thursday. And yet everybody agrees. I did a survey with the Association for Corporate Growth, had about 700 respondents. Survey with the Association for Corporate Growth. So these were all kinds of folks, all kinds of companies. Here's a scale of 1 to 10 question, so get ready to pick out a number. 1 means not very important at all, completely unimportant. 10 means vitally important. So get ready to pick a number on a scale of 1 to 10. How important would you say constant improvement, innovation, new ideas are to the competitive health of your organization? How important are innovation, constant improvement, new ideas to the competitive health of your organization? 1, totally unimportant. 10, vitally important. Pick a number, turn to the person next to you, tell them what number you picked. How many of you said 8 or above? Raise your hands. All right, follow-up question. Scale of 1 to 10. Now, this is not about you. This is about everybody out there. This is about all of us, okay? 1 means terrible, 10 means fantastic. How good do you think most companies actually are at constant improvement, new ideas, and innovation? Scale of 1 to 10. 1 terrible, 10 fantastic. Pick a number, tell your partner. Okay, how many of you said 5 or below? Raise your hands. All right, then we got a disconnect. Now my question to you is, and I'll give you 1 minute to turn to your partner and discuss this, why aren't we better at getting better? Why aren't we better at new ideas? Why aren't we better at innovation? What gets in our way? There's no correct answer. There's 1,000 answers. But just what do you think? Why aren't we better at improvement, ideas, and innovation? Talk to the person next to you. You got 1 minute. Go. Let me hear 2 or 3 from you, then I'll give you a couple that I've observed over the years. Why aren't we better at innovation, new ideas, constant improvement? So, yes, sir.
It's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. Yes. It's time consuming. Yes.
Lack of discipline.
A lack of discipline. It's one of those lip service things. Innovation. Yes, we believe in it. We thrive on it. And then you go back and do it the way you've always done it. Please.
Sometimes it's the folks that work for you. We've always done it that way, or we tried that, it doesn't work. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone.
Oh, exactly. They simply don't want to get out of their comfort zone. How many of you are guilty of this? Well, let me go ahead and give you one. Here's what can get in the way, and this applies to a whole lot of people in this room. I know a lot of you folks. How many of you would say you are very good at what you do and you have a track record of success? You can just, if you don't want to brag, just nod your head. Yeah, we are. We really are. Yeah, and that truly does apply to most people in this room. If you've got a track record of success and the way you've done it, as you just kind of point out, has seemed to always work, that puts you in immediate danger because you are at risk to possibly the deadliest place you can be in today's marketplace. If you're very good at what you do, it's easy to become, I'm fishing, to become complacent. Bingo. To become complacent. See, I believe that past success can be and usually is the enemy of first success. My little teeny tiny company, which has been in business, Jane, you and me together, about 30 years going on it now. My little tiny company, we've done okay. We're good at what we do. We've been successful. And because of that, here's my mantra. Every day I say to myself, Calloway, if you're successful, that means you know what used to work. I feel very comfortable with this group. Tom Peters used to talk about something called fabulous bragging. I'm going to do some fabulous bragging. I'm going to tell you guys how good I am at what I do. I am so good at what I do that I can compete and win in markets that no longer exist. They're gone. They are so completely gone. Oh, I could go on a rant here. Oh man, the markets I won in are gone. So now I've got to figure out what's going to work next. Somebody else, give me another one. So complacency, yes sir.
Risk avoidance.
Just risk avoidance. What if it doesn't work? You know what, and I run up against that all the time myself. I'll have the greatest idea in the world, I'll almost implement, but what if it doesn't work? I better wait. Ooh, I better wait and make sure. Sir Ken Robinson, who's a world-renowned innovator in the field of education, Sir Ken Robinson said, if you're afraid to fail, you'll never do anything the least bit creative. And then a final one is that we start becoming experts. And if you're an expert, you know how it's done. If you know how it's done, going right back to what you were saying, if you know how it's done, then it's like, we know how it's done. Don't give me a new way to do it. I mentioned my daughters, Jess and Kate, who are my little in-house innovation tutors. How many of you would agree one of the great things about little bitty kids, they don't know what they can't do? Isn't that cool? Now, granted, that does lead to the occasional trip to the emergency room, but It's just the most fun thing ever. Kate, 6 years old, Dad, let's do such. I said, well, Kate, we can't do that. Why? Well, you just can't. Why? Well, you just can't. And 4 whys later, we're doing it. She beat me down. I mentioned Sir Ken Robinson. He told a story. It didn't originate with him. He's the one I heard it from, so I'll give him the credit. I love this. This is the spirit that I have to fight to try and get back because I'm an expert. Therefore, I'm not as open to new ideas as I used to be. I love this story. Little girl in kindergarten drawing a picture, just laser beam focused on it, hasn't looked up for 6 minutes. The teacher notices, Laura, she's thinking, what in the world is that little girl drawing over there? So finally she goes over to her and says, hey, what are you drawing? Little girl says, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher kind of laughs and says, but honey, nobody knows what God looks like. Little girl says, they will in a couple of minutes. That used to be me. I used to say, don't tell me it can't be done until after I've done it. Remember that feeling? Some of you are there right now. I have to fight to get it back. Okay, we all agree that you have to get better. Not everybody does. And in all fairness, I brought a video. Dale, get ready to fire it up. I brought a video to present the other side because I just think it's fair. I mean, there are some people that think, I don't know that you have to think about continuous improvement all the time. That's one of those things that sounds good in a book. I don't know that that's true. This guy is one of my best friends. We talk every week, and we disagree on everything. But I thought maybe, no, I think I can get him on continuous improvement. His name is Joe Malarkey. Joe claims to be the worst motivational speaker in America. And even though we disagree on everything, I thought maybe on this one, continuous improvement, I could win him over. So we sat down, we had a conversation. I made a video of it, and I brought it for you to take a look at. Joe, I think one thing that everybody can agree on is this. If you're going to be successful and you're going to stay successful, you got to keep improving. I mean, you've got to keep getting better, and it's a lifelong process. Don't you agree?
I tell you what, I'm very familiar with that idea, and I just want to say this. Not a big fan. No, because continuous improvement, I don't need that kind of pressure in my life. That's all I'm saying. A couple things. I mean, it's hard work. Anything if you ever try, and it takes up your whole day. Yeah, right there. I think I could speak for myself and you and most of our friends in saying that when I was looking for a job, I wasn't necessarily looking for work. You know what I'm saying? Okay, here's the thing, Joe. Let's. In your job, I'm kidding either, when I was employed. But let's say we had jobs. Who are you responsible to, really? The boss. Am I right? Correct?
Oh, you got a point.
Yeah. So in whatever the make work busy thing that your boss makes you tune in, the TPS reports on Tuesday or whatever it is, whatever crap thing that he looks at for a second and goes straight to the shredder. But apparently it's really important that you get it in. Okay, fine. What is keeping you from doing that? I say customers. Customers take up your whole day. They're a time-consuming little beast, and as soon as you're done with one, another one comes in. Who needs that? So what I'm saying is, let's remove, and you don't have to call them customers, you can call them clients, you can call them marks, victims, whatever terminology in your industry. But what I'm saying is, if we got rid of those people, it would free up our whole day to take care of the boss. Because here's the thing I understand about angry customers. Angry customers leave. Angry bosses always come back.
It almost sounds to me like you're advocating failure.
When in our culture did failure get so associated with losing?
Are you saying we should then look for things that don't work?
I think they'll find us. If you just stand still, failure will come to you. That's all. It's my story.
You know, the Japanese, I think, have an interesting...
I love the Japanese.
What do you know about their approach?
I think I know where you're going here. You're talking Kaizen. Kaizen
exactly.
is, I know two Japanese.
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. That's Kaizen. That's that's a powerful Japanese word, right. Joe. Don't kid yourself. The other one that I know from watching the History Channel, kamikaze. These are two, they seem not linked to the first, but if you bring them together into kamikazen, then what you have is a continuous death spiral into your untimely demise. And that's powerful too. And what are we doing here, Joe? We're letting gravity work for us. You see? It's a natural pull.
But you have to get better. You can't just stay the same.
But see, if you say, okay, but that's like that's two choices. There's three choices here. Getting better, staying the same, getting worse. That's all I'm saying. See, we're competing in a global economy, and worse is so much harder to hit now because we've lowered the bar globally now. See, you're not just competing with some bad guy in Arkansas. And it's all, as they say in Arkansas, everything's relatives. But here's the thing. You're now competing globally with incompetence.
You're talking about going the other way entirely.
Exactly. Exactly. And you will be surprised how much traffic there is on that road. That's all I'm saying.
You're not serious about this, are you?
A little bit. Just a little. Yeah.
I mean, you're kidding about this, though, aren't you?
Not as much as you'd think. Not really.
Thank you. That really is one of my best friends in the world. His name is George Campbell, in character as Joe Malarkey. If you ever want to bring him in for an entire presentation, he's got one called Choose to Lose that actually is quite popular. Now, Joe brought up something, just a couple more ideas, and then we'll have hopefully a handful of minutes for questions. But Joe Malarkey brought up the idea of customers. So let me ask you a question. How many of you want your customers to love doing business with you? You comfortable with that word love? Love. That's emotion. That is purely an emotional thing. Love doing business with you. I went to school last year on doing some work for Coca-Cola, most of it, interestingly enough, in Africa. You talk about a major, heavy-duty, smart company that is so about creating the love. It's a love thing with them, and they are deadly serious about it, as is Apple, as is companies like Disney. Let me give you a company that I think is really good at two things. Number one, and here's an idea for you. Everybody says think outside the box, which of course, great, new ideas. Get back inside the box. Here's what I mean by inside the box. What are the basic 3 or 4 things that your customers value most? Value most. You win there and you've won. You've won the whole game. Everybody is so crazy today looking for wow factors. The biggest wow factor of all, win inside the box every time. Now that's not easy to do. There's a company that's great at focusing on inside the box, but then they wrap it with a lot of this love stuff. Most of us are familiar with them. Let's talk about them for a second. How many of you in the last 5 years have flown Southwest Airlines? Okay. They're not perfect, and there are lots of other terrific airlines. But let's talk about Southwest for a minute, since so many of you have flown Southwest. Turn to your partner. What is Southwest, I'll give you 30 seconds. What is Southwest Airlines really, really good at? Go. What are you coming up with? Somebody talk to me. Now remember the purpose of this discussion. If you take this discussion back home or back to work with your colleagues and you talk about Southwest or Coca-Cola or Apple or whoever, then it's just conversation unless we say, so what is Southwest doing or whoever doing that we should be doing? What's our version of this? And if we're not doing it, start doing it. So 2 or 3, what's Southwest good at? Somebody, please.
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. Empowerment how?
We had like gaming theory in the sense that they were giving us the empowerment to believe that we're getting more than what we're paying.
They are empowering you in the sense that you have the feeling you're getting more than what you're paying for. I tell you, a tandem idea to that is they do a great job of managing their customers' expectations. You fly from here to Seattle on a Southwest flight, you're not going to see a movie. You're not going to listen to the in-plane music system. There's not one. You're not going to get a nice meal. You get a little box of something. And yet everybody's totally okay with that because they've managed their customers' expectations. Where there's no movie, there's no nothing, and everybody's going, isn't this great? I had the absolute distinct, giddy pleasure, golly, 10, 12 years ago of meeting Herb Kelleher, who with his partner started Southwest Airlines, CEO, chairman of the board for a long time, now retired. I met Herb Kelleher in Kansas City. I think it was the Hyatt Regency. I was there to work with the group. He was there to speak to the Chamber of Commerce. I walked out in the common area of the hotel outside the meeting rooms. I looked down, and they're standing under a no smoking sign. It's Herb Kelleher smoking a cigarette. Herb Kelleher You're kidding me. He's in my notes. So I went down there. I said, Mr. Keller, I said, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm about to give a talk. I'm going to talk about Southwest a little bit. I've written about you all in my books. I said, it's a great pleasure to meet you. He said, well, good to meet you too, son. He talks like this, probably because he smokes cigarettes all the time. But I said, Mr. Keller, I'd love to ask you a question. I think I know the answer. I just want to hear you say it. What do you want to know, son? I said, what makes Southwest different? He said, well, it starts here. We're real good at running an airline, the nuts and bolts. We're just real good at the core competencies of running an airline. That's where it all starts. If you're not good at that, there's no sense playing, because you got to be good at that. But it goes beyond that for us. It's two other things, love and fun. We love everybody. We love customers. We love their money. Our people love each other. You watch our people work together. They couldn't work together that way if they didn't love each other. They all love me. You ask them, they'll tell you they love it. You know why I love them? I tell them all the time. Why would I not? Other thing is fun. We have more fun than the law to allow, running an airline or any other kind of business. He said, son, let me tell you something. If you're good at what you do, you love everybody, you're having fun, hell, you make so much money you can't count it all. That's a business plan, Jim. Be good at what you do, love everybody, have fun. Well, let me close it up with this, and I've got another one short video with some people in it that some of you will recognize, because and we could spend the whole day on this. I think the biggest differentiator actually between mediocre companies and great companies, here's what I've observed. Great companies have great ideas and they take action on them. Mediocre companies have great ideas. They truly do. They have probably just as many great ideas as a great company. The difference is the mediocre companies don't act on them. I think action. How many of you in this room right now have something that you know you need to do? It would make your business better. It would make your life better. You've been transferring it on your to-do list for more months than you can count. You know you need to do this. It's a conversation you need to have with somebody. It's a decision you need to make. It's just something you need to do and you haven't done it. Is it just me? Can I get a witness? Anybody else? Raise your hands. Amen, sister. Listen, if we all just went back and in the next hour did what we know we should do, think of the cumulative power of that. I mean, a ripple across Nashville. It would be like the Force in Star Wars. People this morning would be going, something just happened. Because we all just took action on what we know we need to do. I want to finish with this short video. 5 people here in Nashville. Now, I'm in this video a little bit. It's not about me, it's about them. 5 people, here's what they have in common. They are absolute masters at making decisions and executing them. The idea that you have right now, that thing that you know you should do, it has no value until you do it. That's all that gives an idea of value, is taking action. It's the only thing.
The action creates the mojo. The action creates the momentum that you need to take great strides. From a dead stop, it takes a lot of energy to get going. So get your motion going, make some decisions, move the ship forward, and then adjust.
The power of an idea is not realized until we take action. What keeps people from taking action are the fear of the unknown and of making mistakes, which are actually the greatest opportunities for learning.
When you take action, that's where the energy happens. I mean, ideas are great, but without action, ideas go dormant.
None of us will ever know what we can do unless we give it a shot and try. Take the first step and do whatever it feels like we know we can do to start off. And then do the next thing that we know that we can do. And then the next.
Success doesn't just happen. That idea is not going to act on itself. It's similar to a snowball effect. You take that first step, the second step's easier. Then comes the third, taking steps, taking action, making it happen.
One of my core beliefs, if it's worth doing wrong. If you wait and do it perfectly, if you wait and try to get it right, you never do it. And if you never do it, then it's an opportunity lost. Do it wrong, and then do it better.
We have the basic knowledge of what to do. What stops us is fear. Fear that the idea is not going to be accepted, fear that it's going to be criticized. Those are the kinds of things, fear-wise, you have to overcome.
It's, are you willing to take that risk, accept it, know that there is a chance you could fail?
When there's something you want to see come into place, something you want to build or something you want to create, the process of creating it is the real joy. That's where the real fulfillment comes, is in actually doing the work.
I think that often we are afraid of mistakes when we should probably embrace them as the moments in which we learn most about ourselves, about others, and that those are actually the opportunities that make that next step better.
The progress that you can make by just keeping everyone moving forward is an amazing thing, an amazing feat, because sometimes you just got to move forward.
I've had many, many ideas that have not worked and have not been good ideas. But I have lots of ideas.
You are going to fail at some things. You are going to make mistakes. Nobody starts anything and hits it out of the park.
You've got to be willing to take the risk associated with putting it out there. And with the risk comes high reward.
What am I now going to do that will put into play this idea that I know I should do?
Be willing to make the mistakes. Be willing to move forward. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing wrong.
There's no greater satisfaction than investing yourself in something you believe in.
There's never a perfect time. You need to take the initiative, to take the plunge, and do it now.
Chances are you know what you need to do. So take the first step and you'll be on your way.
You know, Woody Allen once said 80% of success is showing up. And I'd say that's the key. Take your ideas and show up for the game.
I think the big question isn't what to do, because I think, like me, you probably already know what to do. I think the real question is, if not now, when? Michelangelo once said, "The great danger for most of us is not that we will aim too high and miss it. The great danger for most of us is that we will aim too low and hit it." I think there's a lot of high aiming folks in this room, though. That may not be our problem, so go back and aim high. But we are going to take questions, but before that, two things. Number one, thank you so much for showing up. I didn't have to get on an airplane today. I've been smiling all morning. I love being here. Thank you, Bank of Nashville. Thank you, eSpaces. You're going to get a book, and my business card is tucked in that book somewhere. If you have I love to just bounce ideas back and forth. So if you ever have an idea that you want to just bounce off of me and say, "What do you think?" Email me. I love doing that. That's fun. Jim, you want to come back out and...
Questions for Joe?
Talk about motivation and what we find in small businesses is that getting time to innovate is not as big a problem as getting time to do all those logistical things. And of course, the urgent always pushes out the important.
Yeah. Well, really good point. The urgent pushes out the important. Let me defer to, and it wasn't original with him, but it was popularized by him, Stephen Covey. Because I used to be one of those time management people that said, well, obviously, you do what's most important and most urgent. That's your number one priority. And what we let slide is what's most important but not urgent. In other words, what do we need to be doing 6 months from now, a year from now, that I need to be thinking about right now? We get so busy with the urgent that we put aside the non-urgent, but it's our future, the non-urgent important stuff. So for me, that's been helpful to literally book it as an appointment. From 1 to 2, I'm going to think about the stuff that's not urgent that I know I need to be thinking about for the business. As far as motivation, I was talking with the owner of a company yesterday. He said, we work on motivating our people. We have a weekly meeting. And I said, a weekly meeting doesn't cut anything. This is an all-day, everyday job. Motivation, and really I like the word engagement more than motivation. I said, who's the ultimate leader of this company? He said, me. I said, then it's your job. It is your job to see that the employees of this company are engaged. Jack Welch, that's an all-day, everyday thing. Not easy at all. at all. But I think it is a matter of letting go of the not urgent a little bit sometimes. Good question. Yes, sir.
We've all heard, it takes 15 years to become an overnight success. And through that 15 years, you've had a lot of failures. What's been your biggest failure? What was the main lesson you learned?
15 years to become an overnight success. What's my biggest failure? Holy moly, there's so many to choose from. You know what? I don't mean to sugarcoat this or Pollyanna. I'm one of those, I don't look back. I never have. I mean, I've done some incredibly dumb things. I've done some things within my specific profession that just, I mean, I thought it's like, oh man, when I roll this out to the marketplace, people are going to faint. They're going to be so overjoyed to see this. Turns out I was the only one that thought it was a good idea. And so there's been a lot of those. Let me go against conventional wisdom though. Everybody says you learn more from your mistakes. Okay, but if you're learning to play baseball, Little League, that first time you hit the ball and you go, whoa, so that's what it feels like. See, I think that's pretty strong stuff. Of course we learn from our mistakes, but I tend to focus a whole lot more on what did I do that worked? Let me build on and leverage that. Yes, please.
You're aware of a book called The Innovator's Dilemma?
Yes, The Innovator's Dilemma.
Do you have an opinion about what that book's talking about?
Tell me in one sentence. I'm trying to remember the essence of it. I didn't read it, but I read a review of it. What's the essence, key thought in it?
Established corporations, companies are culturally enabled to change in the face of disruptive technology.
In the face of what?
Disruptive technology.
Okay. Established companies find it difficult to change in the face of disruptive technology. I will say this. I heard a University of Texas business professor make one whale of a case. He started out and he said, I don't care what business you're in, what's going to drive the future of your business is technology. And I thought, really? No matter what business you're in? And by the end of it, he had pretty well won me over. And so I think that all of our innovations now have to be thought through and done, certainly within the context of not just technology, but disruptive technology. And to key on the word disruptive, I think let me ask you a question. In your business, in your industry, in your profession, what's going to happen next? Change. Is anybody willing to say, I don't know? That's the correct answer. I think that's the correct answer. The question is, can I be okay with that? And can we come up with a strategy? And it is, as Arnie Malham, CJ Everett, he's the guy that was on the video Real Intense. He said if it's worth doing wrong. Because if you wait to do it perfectly, probably technology and everything else will have passed by the window of opportunity. So do it wrong, then adjust. And I think all of us have to get better at that. Let's do it. It probably won't be right. We'll make it right once we start doing it. It's building the airplane in the air thing. It's a good book, though. It's a very thought-provoking book, from what I understand, The Innovator's Dilemma.
One more question.
Yeah. You pick.
2 more questions. I was just going to be, what's your favorite book?
Become in a category 1. Because that book has been so good to me. I like everything Jim Collins does. Good to great. The research behind it. The most powerful lesson, going back to disruptive, the most powerful lesson for me in Good to Great is that great, great, great company that does everything right that he wrote about called Circuit City. They're gone, folks. They're not great, they're broke. That doesn't mean Collins didn't do a good job. As a matter of fact, he followed up with a book called When the Mighty Fall. It's that nobody's invulnerable and complacency can kill us. Collins, though, his stuff runs so deep. It's a little academic. I can doze off after a couple of chapters, but then I go back and reread. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. And a question over here? Yeah, please.
With all the different formats of communication
down a limited amount of hours in a day. What are a couple of tips that you found when managing these companies and still managing client communication?
Tips on managing, well, I think the essence is how do you manage client expectations? Yeah, how do you stay in? We are huge on not just a lot of communication, but immediate response. That's part of our brand. I mean, we're like Zappos. And you ever do business with Zappos? You place send on your order and your doorbell rings. I mean, they're fast. We try to be that fast. So I think a good rule of thumb is don't just get back to people, do it head-spinningly quickly. It makes a huge impression. And, well, there's a chapter in the book you're going to get, part of which is know your customer better than anybody else knows them. I think that's the secret weapon in selling. Know your customer. I mean, Mark Fortune could tell you volumes about that, knowing the customer. I'm a great believer in ending on time, so I'll stick around if anyone wants to talk. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
4 years ago, we went around the business community and asked 3 questions. How many of you have, as a high priority, continuing learning, executive learning, this kind of information for professional growth? Everybody said it's a top priority. How much time do you allow for it? Almost none. Could you come to a breakfast and meet and greet and network and hear Joe Calloway? We didn't know we were even talking about him, but he is the prototype of what we're talking about, and do it in an informal atmosphere. Could you make time to do that? Universally, yes. So we're so proud to have Joe here.